start this a few moments ago, and it turns out I could not get a signal in landscape, so I have to go portrait. But we are in New York City. I zoomed in so you can see that's Midtown Manhattan facing south, and directly across the street is Central Park, which is where I am about to head. I'm not seeing comments. I was not able to broadcast this in landscape, but we seem to be working okay in portrait, but I'm still not seeing comments. So let me go ahead, and I'm going to head across the street into the park. Oops. Hope all is well. I haven't been on Haps in a while. I hope you guys can see me. I'm not seeing comments. Hey, okay, I just saw Haley and Simon. Hello, Haley and Simon. So we're having some technical difficulties, but I think we've got it under control now. Rob, it's great to see North Boston Rob, and Haley and Simon and Gotham and Griffin. I'm finally starting to see comments. It is very hot today. It is 90 Fahrenheit, 32.2 Celsius here in the great city of New York. This is an ice cream truck. That noise is an ice cream truck. Just waiting for the light to change. We're heading right into Central Park. Fred, how are you, Fred? Fred, we need to meet up and catch up. Hope all is well. How's Max doing, Fred? Is he still around? Hope you're well. Yes, this is an ice cream truck. So we're just waiting for the light to change. We're on Central Park West. It is hot, Rob. I don't know how it is in Boston, but here in New York City, 90 Fahrenheit, 32.2 Celsius. And this is Central Park West. I'm crossing Central Park West, and we're now going right into Central Park on this very hot day. Stay hydrated. Stay hydrated. Drink lots of water. And keep your health hydrated. He's doing fine. Good to hear that, Fred. I hope you are well as well. They closed down 21 Club, Fred, as I'm sure you're well aware. Great restaurant. Closed down during the pandemic. I don't know if it... Actually, I don't believe it's reopening. I hope I'm wrong on that. So I tried to do this in landscape, but it would not, the camera would not work in landscape. So I will send an email to the folks at Haps after later today when I get back to my apartment, and I will inform them of that. But it seems that when I restarted it in portrait mode, it seems to be working fine now. You're in Queens in the air condition. That's actually a very smart decision. I'm going to be walking a little slowly because I don't have water with me, but I drank a bit of water before I started this at my apartment, so you can feel, Haley can feel the heat through the screen. You just got back from Miami. I will be in Miami in August, which is the worst month of the year to be in Miami. If you think it's hot in New York today, this is nothing compared to Miami in August, but I will be in Miami in August for a couple of days. But right now we are in New York City Central Park. If you have to be outside on a hot day like today, you want to be in Central Park. Now, would you know you're in the middle of New York City? Would you have any idea with this view right now that you are in the middle of New York City? If you're just coming on and seeing this view, you're going to say there's no way you're in New York City. But we are. Right in the middle of it all. Central Park is about 845 acres. That's not exact, but it's close enough. It runs from 59th Street all the way up to 110th Street. And it also borders 5th Avenue, which is over in that direction. And the other side is Central Park West, which is where we entered from. We entered from the Central Park West side. You're going to be in Santa Monica in August. I haven't been to LA in 2 years. I need to get back to LA. Santa Monica is beautiful. Oh, it is hot. It is 90 Fahrenheit, which is 32.2 Celsius. It is indeed hot, and of course you can feel the humidity. I would not go running today in the park. I can't run anyway. I sort of injured my left foot a little bit, so I'm in recovery mode, but I can walk. But I would not recommend running today, although we will see runners as we walk along the reservoir. And it is a day to stay under a tree in the shade or in your air conditioner, as someone mentioned earlier. And it's a day to drink lots of water and stay hydrated. Absolutely. I hear someone playing a trumpet or a saxophone. We're going to cross here and walk around the reservoir. Beautiful, beautiful day, you know, to be in the park, although hot as can be. I'm just waiting for these bicyclists to pass by, and then I'm going to scurry on across here. Okay. Yes, Haley, I hurt my foot running. The reason I haven't been on in a while, I don't mean to sound like a downer because I'm doing much better, but I hurt my foot running in Central Park, and my podiatrist had me go for an MRI, which came up negative, you know, nothing broken, but it was inflamed, so he gave me a prescription drug called meloxicam. Not his fault. He gives it to, you know, it's a very common prescription drug. And I had a very bad allergic reaction. I had to go to the emergency room. This is back in April. I was in the emergency room twice within 3 days. I blew up like the Elephant Man. My blood pressure skyrocketed. But I'm doing much better now. I'm doing much better. I went to an allergist. The allergist does not know why this happened. So I just have to be careful. But that's, you know, the positive news is I'm feeling much better. Hey, Princessia, how are you? India, hi, Ash from India. The good news is I'm feeling much better, doing much better. I've been just finished up my physical therapy on my foot. My foot's doing much better, but I'm not in a position where I can start running again. So I just have to take it easy for a while. So we're going on this walk together. Oh, thanks, Fred. Yeah, I'm doing much better. I'm doing much better. That's why I haven't been broadcasting in over a month. I had to relax and recover a little bit. So, the reservoir is 1.58 miles around. When we get to that side of the reservoir, you're going to see breathtaking views of Midtown Manhattan. Yes, Ash, it's 90 Fahrenheit, 32.2 Celsius. Very hot. Stay inside, stay in your air condition. Lots of water, stay hydrated. Thank you, Fred. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Haley. I am on the mend, absolutely. If I missed your comment, please do not take it personally. I have to watch where I'm walking, so my eyes tend to divert just so I can watch where I'm walking. And I also like to look at the beautiful, beautiful scenery just like you are, so sometimes I miss a comment. Do not take it personally. If you asked me a question and I missed it, just ask me again, no problem. So this is the running track, but you're allowed to walk on the running track. The walkers, you know, should stay over to the right side, which is what I'm doing, so the runners can pass off to my left side. But as you can see, there's not too many runners right now because of the heat, which is a wise decision. I'm sure that as the sun starts to go down and the temperature drops, then we'll see some more runners start to come out and run around the reservoir. Central Park, Fred, is absolutely beautiful. If you didn't see these buildings, that's the Fifth Avenue side of Central Park that's coming into view. If it was not for looking at those buildings, you would never know you were in the city. It's gorgeous out. This reservoir was named after, the official name is the Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis Reservoir. Jacqueline Kennedy, back in the 1970s, lived in one of those buildings over there on Fifth Avenue. And in the 1970s, this reservoir was not maintained. It was polluted. It was really disgusting, quite frankly. And Mrs. Kennedy, from her window view on Fifth Avenue, would look out over the disgusting reservoir in the 1970s. So she did something about it. She raised millions of dollars. She worked with the city of New York to clean up the reservoir, and it was indeed cleaned up. And as a result, the city of New York named this reservoir after Mrs. Kennedy. So the official name is the Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis Reservoir. It's been clean and maintained ever since, but us New Yorkers just call it the reservoir. You were amazed the first time you saw Central Park from the Empire State Building. Yes, beautiful views up there from the Empire State Building of Central Park, no doubt about it. And there's some other tall buildings that have gone up in Manhattan that also have roof decks with breathtaking views. I'm going to try later on this summer to go up on one or two of them and bring you views from there if there's a signal. One Vanderbilt just opened up at Grand Central, and they're going to have a breathtaking roof deck. And there's also a very high building on the Midtown West in the Hudson Yards area, where the views of the city are just beyond phenomenal. So I'm going to try and get up there. Yes, Mrs. Kennedy lived on Fifth Avenue. I think the address was 1080 Fifth Avenue, so you can Google that. That's where she used to live. Either 1050 or 1080, something like that. You can Google it. And that's, she looked over at this reservoir every morning, every day from her window. And she is responsible for it being clean and maintained to this very day. And that's why they named it after her. So again, we're in beautiful New York City for those just joining. Now we're going to be walking all around this reservoir in Central Park, and it's 1.58 miles around. As you can see, it's pretty big. So you might get bored. If you feel you want to leave the broadcast and come back later, I will not be insulted at all. I completely understand. I don't want you to feel obligated that you have to stay with me here the whole time, although you, of course, you're more than welcome to. I appreciate all of you. I'm on the HAPS live stream broadcast, but if you're watching on Twitter Live and YouTube, it should also be coming off on those live streams simultaneously. Had a little bit of technical difficulties getting started. I tried to do this in landscape, which would have been a better view, but there was, for whatever reason, it didn't work, so I have to film this in portrait. I started this broadcast with, see, here's the name, Jacqueline Kennedy, Onassis Reservoir. Don't know if the camera picked that up, but that was the sign. Now, I started this broadcast with a full battery, but I don't have a charger with me, so hopefully the battery will take us through the entire broadcast. If it doesn't, we might get cut off suddenly, and I apologize in advance if that happens. When we get to the northern side of the reservoir, you're going to see just breathtaking views. And there's another sign, the Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis Reservoir. Now, I haven't seen a comment in a few minutes, so I hope I still have a signal here. There's a swan or a duck. 90 Fahrenheit, 32.2 Celsius, very little wind, very hot and humid day here. Thank you, Haley. I just saw Haley's comment. Thank you, Haley. Thank you, Fred. Glad we're still here. The camera is now facing back. That's Central Park West. That's on the west side of Manhattan. We're now approaching the Fifth Avenue side of Manhattan. We're going to pass the Guggenheim Museum in a few moments. When we do, it's probably another 2 or 3 minute walk. I will show it to you, but you'll have a view through the trees of the famous Guggenheim Museum, which is on Fifth Avenue and East 89th Street. And there's one of the few runners that are braving this hot weather, running around the reservoir today. Many movies were filmed on this reservoir. One that comes to mind starred Al Pacino and Keanu Reeves, The Devil's Advocate. There was a scene where one of the rogue lawyers was chased by some bad people, and part of that scene was filmed right here on this reservoir, on this running track. Yes, the runners are, you have to be, I would not recommend running in this hot weather, but to each his own. Maybe he drank a lot of water before he started his run. So we're on the Fifth Avenue side. That's Fifth Avenue right through those trees, if the camera can pick it up. And if I pace the camera to my left, that's facing west. And straight ahead, we're walking in a northern direction. There's a lot of walkers getting their exercise today, walking on the running track here. It's hard for me to even see all the comments right now because the sun is so strong. Marathon Man film there. Haley says the signal is still good. Good to hear that. So this is an apartment building here on Fifth Avenue where the camera's pointing. I don't know if you can see it. The sun is so strong, it's almost looking into a blank screen right now. That's how strong the sun is. So hopefully it's coming out okay for you. What did you say? I saw Haley's. I asked earlier if I still had a signal, and Haley commented that yes, it's a good signal. So that was what I meant by that. Pictures look good. Thank you, Fred. There goes another runner, braving this hot weather. So here I'm pointing the camera to my left, which is facing west, and that's all Central Park West. We entered the park on Central Park West. That is what you're looking at right now. And to the right is Fifth Avenue. So the camera is now facing Fifth Avenue, which is an eastern direction. We are walking in a northern direction. And right behind this tree is the Guggenheim Museum. Let me see if I can get you a better view of that. When we pass this tree, I will try and get you a view of the Guggenheim Museum. Haley's Comet here. Haley's Comet. Let's see. Straight ahead through this tree is the Guggenheim Museum. It's really hard to see through the lush green trees here in Central Park, especially this time of year when everything is fully bloomed. Let me try and zoom in. Hold on, trying to zoom in. See that building right there? That's the Guggenheim Museum, the famous Guggenheim Museum right there. And what I'll do now is go and zoom in again and get you a view of Central Park West. Did I zoom in too much? It is so difficult to see the view through this camera because the sun is shining right into it. This is all Central Park West, right here. Right here. Hey Rob, your Boston Red Sox defeated my New York Yankees yesterday, so congratulations to you, and definitely not to me. I was not happy with the performance of my New York Yankees baseball team yesterday. Okay, reminds me of your last visit. Come on back and visit us, James. So again, looking at Central Park West, as I turn the camera to the west, which is my left, I am walking in the northern direction, camera facing west. And there goes another runner in the 90-degree Fahrenheit, 32.2 Celsius weather, braving the hot weather as he runs around the reservoir. When we get, I said this a couple of times, but people may have tuned in late, when we get to that northern part of the reservoir, we're going to face the camera south, and you will have a view of the entire skyline of Midtown Manhattan when we get to that point. Still about 7 or 8 minute walk away, but when we get there, the views will be absolutely spectacular. Now it is a little hazy outside because of the heat and the humidity today, so it's not a crystal clear day, but it's clear enough that you will see the buildings when we get to the northern part and face the camera south. The views are breathtaking. Now, if I did not face the camera at these buildings, you would have no idea you were in the middle of New York City, and that's what's so amazing about Central Park. It's right across the street from where I live, yet it's a world away at the same time in the big city. Just fantastic. It's raining in 52. Bring some of that cool weather. We don't want the rain, but we'll take the cool weather. And this is all Fifth Avenue. To my right, the camera facing east. The Bruins are going to take the... I don't like the Islanders, so if the Bruins want to take the Islanders, that's fine by me. Rob is talking about our National Hockey League team. National Hockey League ice hockey are in the middle of, in the United States, are in the middle of their playoff run. So there's only a few teams left before they go to the finals, and that's what Rob is referring to. Okay. And the Brooklyn Nets basketball team won their game last night. So for those outside of the United States, this time of year, the National Hockey League, which is professional ice hockey, and the NBA, which is the National Basketball Association, professional basketball, both those sports are in the playoffs at this time of year to find out who the champion is. And the Brooklyn Nets are still in the playoffs, and the New York Islanders are still in the playoffs. I'm more of a New York Ranger fan, so I'm not an Islander fan. Baseball season is underway. Baseball season goes straight through to November. The final World Series games are in November, so it's still a long way to go for baseball. And our national football, which is different than your football in Europe, our National Football League begins in September, I believe, or October. What you in Europe refer to as football, we in America call soccer. our football is very, very different than what you call football in Europe. They took out the Celtics. Yes, my New York Knicks didn't last very long. Fred says he lives in Prospect Park, but it's not. Yeah, well, Prospect Park I don't think is as big as Central Park, or if it is, I don't think it has the reservoir and stuff like that. It's good seeing all of you. It's been a while since I've done a live stream, so it's good to be back in the groove of doing this. The reservoir is 1.58 miles around. I forgot how many billions of gallons of water it holds. I'll have to look that up for next time. I missed you guys too, Rob. I missed you. Rob, I was in Boston. I should have tweeted at you if you're on Twitter. I was in Boston. When was it? Not too long ago. I think in early April I was in Boston. I need to get back up there. I was in Boston. I was in a town called Everett, which is right outside of Boston. I went to the Encore Boston Harbor, which is a large casino hotel. And I actually do good. I actually won at the slot machine. I lucked out. Doesn't always happen that way, but I enjoyed it. There's some. Did they arrest me for winning? No, they did not. And I won a little bit under the tax requirement, so I didn't have to pay taxes on it. If you go to a casino in the United States, I don't know what the rules are overseas, but if you go into the casino in the United States and you win more than $1,200 at the slot machine, you have to pay taxes on it. My winnings were a little bit less than that, so I did not have to pay taxes, which made me very happy. They have great restaurants in there too, Rob. So you don't have to gamble. You can just go meet your friends for lunch or for dinner. They have great restaurants in there. Never had a bad meal at Encore Boston Harbor, and I've been there a number of times. What if you gamble the $1,200 away? Okay, so I have an answer for you. If you get taxed on a big slot machine, and I'm only talking about slot machines. I don't know how they do it at the craps tables and the blackjack tables. If what the casino will do at the end of the year, they will send you something called a win-loss statement, and you can offset your losses against any winnings, but you cannot exceed your losses against the winnings. So if you get taxed on $1,200, you cannot write off more than $1,200 in losses. And that's how that works. And if you gamble the $1,200 away immediately, that would not be a wise decision, but people do that. I've seen it happen. I've seen people win thousands at a crap table and give it back. I've seen it on more than one occasion. All right, I'm not looking at comments right now. I'm walking a little quickly to pass by some people. Bear with me. I am in a power walk right now just to pass by a few people. All right, let me start looking at comments again. You really put the, so yeah, there were a couple of people walking very, just fine, but they were past them. So when you're now rounding, we're leaving Fifth Avenue, and we're starting to make the turn to head back to the west side of the city. And very soon, in another minute or two, I am going to stop and face the camera south. I'm going to face the camera south now. Hopefully you're seeing, I can't see it because the sun is right into the camera, but hopefully you can see the buildings right now in Midtown Manhattan facing south. But I'll get you a better view of that in a few minutes. I just want to get into position and find a good view in the shade, and then I'll talk about those buildings. It's very hot, Nancy. It is 90 Fahrenheit, 32.2 Celsius. Yes, Rob, my foot is doing much better. I injured my left foot running in Central Park in early April, for those who haven't heard. And I had to go to the podiatrist. He sent me for an MRI. MRI came back negative, nothing broken, but I did have inflammation. For those who haven't heard, he put me on meloxicam, which is a popular prescription drug here in the United States. You can only get it through a doctor. And it's supposed to help inflammation. And what happened when I took it, I ended up in the emergency room twice in 3 days because I blew up like the Elephant Man. I had an allergic reaction to it. So that's why I haven't been broadcasting in a while. I was in recovery. I'm doing much better now. Blood pressure still hasn't come back to normal, but it's come back down a lot from where it was. Still a little swollen around my neck and my body, and my legs, but nothing compared to how it was. So, and my feet, my left foot is doing much better. I just finished physical therapy this past week, and as you can see, I'm walking all around the reservoir. I can't run yet. I cannot go back to running yet. Have to take it very slow, but the progress has been extraordinary, very positive. So thank you. So my blood pressure spiked up to emergency levels. I'm normally 120/70. My blood pressure spiked up to something like 188/120, which is like a heart attack level. So I had to go to the hospital. But I never had a heart attack or anything. I'm a very healthy person, so I think that saved me. They did an EKG. EKG came back, and my blood pressure immediately started to come down. It's still too high, though. It's like 130. It's in the 130s over like 85, 86, 87, which is still high. That's hypertension level. But the doctors are not. I'm more nervous about it than my doctors. They're not worried about it. They're like, it's going to come back down. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right, I'm going to go here. All right, now I can't go to landscape because for some reason on HAPS, it's not letting me do the landscape now. Oh gosh, what happened? Hold on. I just lost my view. Hold on. I touched something wrong. Okay, I'm back. You're on blood pressure medication. You have a lot of allergies. Yes, Haley, I went to an allergist to find out why this happened, and the allergist does not know, so it's a mystery. All right, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Unfortunately, I cannot go landscape. HAPS will not let me. I will send an email tonight to HAPS technical support to ask them. Maybe I need to refresh the app, but we're stuck on landscape today. So I zoomed in. We're now facing south. This is Midtown Manhattan. The view you're looking at with all these skyscrapers is Midtown Manhattan. I zoomed in a little bit. That is facing south. I'm going to try and zoom in a little bit more here. You should leave a scathing. No, Gary, it was not the podiatrist's fault. Meloxicam is prescribed to millions and millions of Americans every day of the year, and very few people have a reaction. There are some side effects, but it's extremely rare, and unfortunately, I was the unlucky one. But my podiatrist had no idea, neither did I. I had no idea. When he asked me if I had allergies, my allergies are basically, like most of us, if the pollen's really heavy, we tend to sneeze. But other than that, so I told him no, because I had never taken meloxicam before. He gives it to hundreds and hundreds of patients who've had no problems. So it absolutely was not the podiatrist's fault. Actually, he's a very good podiatrist. I've been going to him for years. He felt more bad about it than I did, but it was not his fault. So I'm going to talk about some of these buildings here. Let's see. So this building right here is 432 Park Avenue. This used to be the tallest building in the Western Hemisphere. It no longer is. It was surpassed by this building right here, which is the Extel Tower, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. 432 Park Avenue is about 88 stories tall. Good to see you, Mr. Turner, or Dennis Turner. I'm missing some of the comments. The sun is shining right into... Meloxicam, Damon, is for inflammation. If you injure yourself, you have inflammation. I'm sure it's used for other things too, but it was subscribed to me for inflammation. Thank you, Nancy. So 432 Park Avenue was built a number of years ago. The penthouse was put on the market for $95 million, and a billionaire from Saudi Arabia contacted the developer and said, I know you want $95 million for this apartment, but would you take it for $88 million? And the developer did. He accepted the offer, so that penthouse was sold for $88 million to a billionaire from Saudi Arabia. And what did the billionaire from Saudi Arabia do when he received the keys to that penthouse that he purchased? He gave it to his daughter. He gave it to his daughter. Now, I always tell the corny joke, and you've heard me say it before. You're probably sick of this corny joke. I don't care. I'm saying it again. I asked my father to buy me a penthouse apartment in New York City. And do you know how he reacted? He just looked at me. He rolled his eyes. He shook his head. He did not even verbally respond to me. Can you believe it? The nerve. Can you believe it? The nerve. Before I showed you the Guggenheim, I'm going to show you another view. I'm zooming in right there. That's the Guggenheim. Do you see that little white building that's in a circular motion? That's the Guggenheim. We passed that by earlier in the broadcast, the famous Guggenheim Museum on 5th Avenue, and I believe that's 89th Street or 88th Street, one or the other. So let me go back here to the buildings. So we just talked about this building, which is 432 Park Avenue. This building right here with the antenna on top is the Bloomberg Tower. For those of you who are familiar with our former mayor from several years ago, his name is Michael Bloomberg. He is the founder of Bloomberg News. Many of you might get your news from Bloomberg News. That building right there, whoops, right there with the antenna, that is the Bloomberg Tower. The top half is multi-million-dollar condominiums. The lower half is Bloomberg News. The building right next to it, almost the same height, that is the Citibank building. So if any of you ever went to an ATM or a bank with Citibank, that's the corporate headquarters right there. Now, this is very hard to see. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but right there where I'm pointing, you're going to see the very tippy top of what appears to be an antenna. I don't know if the camera's picking that up, but if you can see that little antenna that I'm pointing at, that is the tippy top of the Empire State Building. That is the antenna of the Empire State Building. That is on 5th Avenue and 34th Street. That is the tippy top of the Empire State Building. Now this building right here, this is a new condominium building. It's still under construction. Very tall, skinny condominium building. I don't know the name of it. I don't have much information. I will get back to you on that in a future broadcast. But this building right here is now the tallest residential building in the entire Western Hemisphere. Only the, I'm mispronouncing this, the Burj Khalifa, which I've totally botched the name, in Dubai is taller. So the Khalifa, the Burj Khalifa, I'm totally botching the name, in Dubai is the tallest residential building in the world. This right here, the Extel Tower, is the second tallest residential building in the world, the tallest building in the entire Western Hemisphere when it comes to condominiums. And you're looking at it right there. That's well over 100 stories. I think it's 120 stories. It's taller than the Empire State Building. This building is taller than the Empire State Building. The building right below it doesn't look tall, but it is. It's 220 Central Park South. It's over 80 stories high. The penthouse of that building was put on the market for $250 million, and a billionaire hedge fund manager from Chicago offered $225 million. That offer was accepted, sold, just the penthouse, not the whole building, just the penthouse, in that building right there, sold for $225 million to a billionaire hedge fund manager based out of Chicago. So there you have it. Sting and his wife Trudy also live in that building. I only mention it because it's in all the papers. It was public. If it was not public, I would not tell you. But Sting and his wife Trudy also purchased in that building, 220 Central Park South. You can Google it. Do you like these skinny buildings? I do not like these tall, skinny buildings because they cast shadows over Central Park. And they are casting shadows over Central Park, and they should not be that high, but it's too late now. As you can see, they're built. So we're going to continue on our walk. This is all Central Park West. We're heading to the west side now as we continue our walk around the Central Park Reservoir. I'm going to keep the camera facing south. It is very hard for me to see comments because the sun is right in the camera, and it almost makes the camera pure, like to completely go dark. So I can't see comments. So bear with me. When we get into the shade, I will check your comments. Okay, we're approaching the shade here. So I will look back at the screen and see if I can pick up comments. The buildings look strange. They're very tall, some of them, that's for sure. So here's another view. This is all Central Park. We're on the northern part now of the reservoir. We'll be heading, we're heading to the west side, and then we'll head our way back south to where we began, if the battery holds up. I do not have a battery recharger with me, so if the battery dies, well, this will immediately cut off. Hopefully it'll last a little bit. These are the tennis courts. I'm facing north. I don't know if you can see through the trees. These are tennis courts. Every once in a blue moon, Billie Jean King, who lives in the neighborhood, you will see her playing tennis over there. And here's the Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis Reservoir. We talked about why it's named after her earlier in the broadcast. Beautiful view, beautiful. Oh, this is the first time we had a nice breeze. Too bad you can't feel the breeze through the screen. You would have loved that. And now we're right back in the sun. Oh boy. All right, sun is in my eyes. Cannot see anything. Hold on. When we make the turn, the sun should be behind me, so I'll be able to see the screen much better. And hopefully the signal will hold up. Gorgeous views here. We're now heading into the home stretch. We probably have about another 7 or 8 minute walk, and we would have completed walking around this entire reservoir. 1.58 miles around. Does Tom Jones still paint or not anymore? I don't know about Tom Jones, but Tony Bennett is very well known for painting in Central Park. But when Tony Bennett paints in Central Park, he's further to the south by the 59th Street entrance. Tony Bennett lives on Central Park South. So this is a little far north of him, even though we're in the same park. He enters the park way down by 59th Street and sits on one of the park benches and paints. He does. Now, whether he still does that now, he's much more older in age, so I don't know. But he used to do that all the time. He does? Okay. I didn't know that he has dementia. So now the sun is behind me, so I'm having much better luck here now, seeing the screen. And there's a nice breeze here now too, which is wonderful, because the sun is at my back instead of in front. Okay. And I spoke too soon. The sun just came right back in the camera. Now I can't see anything again. Too funny. That helicopter you see is very here. I don't know if you see it, you hear it. The sounds of helicopters are very, very common here in New York. It's a lot of airspace, very busy airspace, a lot of helicopters, and we have a lot of airports in the area. We have Teterboro Airport, which is a private airport. We have Newark Airport. Both Teterboro and Newark Airport are in New Jersey, but not too far of a drive from here. In Queens, we have LaGuardia Airport and JFK Airport. So 4 very, very busy airports here in the New York City area. Where are we? You were brought up in Brooklyn Heights. We're in Central Park. We are in Central Park in the middle of New York City. Central Park is about 845 acres, and we're walking around the Central Park Reservoir. That's the 5th Avenue side off to my left, facing east, and we walked all along there. This is Midtown Manhattan, that's facing south, and we are walking in a western direction right now. We entered the park on 85th Street and Central Park West, and that's where we will be exiting the park if, big if, my battery holds. I don't know how much juice is left in this battery. If the battery runs out, this will immediately go off the air. I'll just be cut off from you, so hopefully that won't happen. I tried to do this in landscape. The HAPS app, for whatever reason, would not allow me to do that. So that's why I'm in portrait today, which is too bad, because the views would be, you would have a much better view if I were in landscape. But it's okay, you can see good enough, I think. Now you live in Italia. I love Italia. I was in Italy. I'm Italian American. I was in Italy a number of years ago. I would love to go back. I've been to Italy twice. I would love to go back for a 3rd time. I missed your trip on 5th Avenue. Did you get down to the Imagine Mosaic is not on 5th Avenue. You're talking about Strawberry Fields, the tribute to John Lennon. The tribute to John Lennon, Strawberry Fields, is on in Central Park, right off of 72nd Street and Central Park West. I have done Periscope broadcasts from there. I've also done a YouTube broadcast from there, but I have not yet done a HAPS broadcast from there, and I will. Not today, but I will do that. Hopefully sooner rather than later. Thank you for mentioning that. Melbourne, Australia in lockdown? Really? I thought you guys took care of COVID. What are you in lockdown over? I thought Australia and New Zealand opened up months and months ago. You married an Italian who live in Milano. I've never been to Milano. I've been to Rome twice. I've been to Florence twice. I've been to Naples twice. But I've never been to Milano, and I've never been to Venice. I'd love to go to those places. I'd also love to go visit Portofino. I've never been to Portofino. I've also been to the Amalfi Coast. I've been to the Amalfi Coast, which is beautiful. I was to the Amalfi Coast once. We are the ones stuck in lockdown, and it's winter. I've never been to Venice. My sister was in Venice right before the pandemic hit. She was in Venice. She loved it. But she likes Rome a little bit more because she like me, we were raised right in the suburbs of a big city, so she liked Rome a little bit better. But Venice, she loved Venice. Venice, she told me, is just absolutely breathtaking. You are the only one stuck in lockdown. New York has lifted a lot of the restrictions. We don't have to wear a mask anymore when we are outside in New York. When we go inside, it depends on it's left up to the business on what they want to do. But when we are outside, my mask is pulled down below my chin right now. We don't have to wear a mask when we are outside in New York City anymore. Right now, you're 30 minutes away from Portofino. Oh, I would love to go to Portofino. Yes, I had the Johnson & Johnson vaccine on April 7th, right before they pulled it off the shelves, by the way. Well, when I say pull off the shelves, I meant pulled it off from anyone getting a vaccine. But I did have a little bit of side effects, just it lasted less than 1 day. And the good thing that I liked about the Johnson & Johnson, it's just one shot. You don't have to go back for a second shot. So yes, I did have Johnson & Johnson vaccine on April 7th. I have it memorized, April 7th. I am a Yankees fan, but I do not hate the Mets. I do not hate the Mets. I wish the Mets well. If the Mets are not playing the Yankees, I want to see the Mets win. I like DeGrom. I think the Mets, I'm glad about the new Mets owner. I think he's much better than the previous Mets owner. And the Yankees, by the way, which is the team I root for, are horrible this year. I think the Yankees need to make some changes in their manager because Aaron Boone is in way over his head. Aaron Boone is the manager of the New York Yankees, and he just gets out-coached all the time, and it's enough already. I like him. He's a nice man, but he needs to go. I'm also a big New York Jets football fan. And I'm very happy with the Jets hired a new head coach in the offseason. I think the Jets are going to do better than last year. But then again, I think if I was coaching the New York Jets, or if you were coaching the New York Jets, they would do better than last year. So I'm very happy with this new head coach. You cried, I missed the comment. The sun's in my eyes. You cried when Thurman Munson, yes. That was back in the 1970s, I think. That was a very sad thing that happened. Jets, yes, I agree, Nancy. I'm very excited for this upcoming Jets season. I really am. I'm a big Jet fan, so the Jets fans have been through enough. We deserve to have a good season. I don't expect the Jets to make the playoffs, or if they do, they'll get knocked out in the first round. But I'm very excited. I think they'll have a much better season than last year. Beltran, you are 61 years old. I am a Green Bay Packer fan and everything. Oh yes, you have some drama with your quarterback, I think. Green Bay's a very good team, but you've got a lot of drama going on. Good afternoon. Is that ex-Army? Good afternoon, ex-Army. So ladies and gentlemen, believe it or not, we still have a battery and we did it. This was our starting point. This is right here is where we started, right here. And we made it all around the reservoir. Let me stand here for a minute. We did it. 1.58 miles around. 1.58 miles around. We walked all around this reservoir. We did it. Look at this. We walked all around it. You are a Dolphins fan. Dolphins have a good head coach. You guys are going to be good. You know, Damon, someone else told me that Rock Paper Gucci moved back to New York. I had no idea. I thought she was still in Australia. But if she's watching or listening, please, hello, Rock Paper Gucci, I say hello. Welcome to New York City. Here's a band. You met your Italian wife in Miami and then moved here. Yes, and you made it too, Haley. You stayed with me the whole time. Thank you. So we left the Reservoir. We're now in Central Park. We're going to head back to my apartment. But we're not going to take you to my apartment building. I'll walk you a block or two before, and then we'll end the broadcast. But you're stuck with me for about another 5 or 10 minutes because I'm walking nice and slowly. You subscribed. Have a great Sunday. Thank you. You too. She's on Haps. Damon, I had no idea whatsoever. Please tell her I say hello. She's a great, great person. Classy person. I had no idea she moved to New York until a recent, I think, not last time, but I think the time before that, someone came on my broadcast and said she had moved to New York. I had no idea, but I'm glad to hear it. She's amazing. Sounds like oh no, Nancy, when you live in New York, you hear sirens all the time. Most of the time those sirens are ambulances. Every once in a while it's fire and police, but most of the time it's ambulance. And when you hear sirens, I didn't even hear it. This is not an exaggeration. If you did not mention the sirens to me, I did not even hear it until you mentioned it, because we're so used to it, we just block it out. It's a very common all-day occurrence throughout the day here in New York City. City of millions and millions of people. You're going to have those sirens. Now, would you know right now by looking at this view that you're in the middle of New York City? Look at this. Would you have any idea? Look at this beautiful, serene view. Just gorgeous. And you're in the middle of the city. Music to your ears, the adrenaline. You're not used to it. Oh yeah, I understand that. If you don't live in a big city, when you hear a siren, your ears immediately pick it up. But when you live in the city, as I do, and you've lived in the city a long time, as I have, you just tune it out. I honestly don't even hear it unless you bring it to my attention. I do not even hear it. Your mind and your ears just train itself to tune all that stuff out, so you don't hear it. A lot of times I don't even hear the honking of horns anymore. You just tune that stuff out. I do not own a car, Nancy. When you live in the city, there is so much ample public transportation. There is no need for a car. As a matter of fact, it's a hindrance to have a car because there's really no place to park. And if you park in one of the garages or the underground garages, it's extremely expensive. And there's just so much public transportation, there's no need. So I don't have a car. There's subways, there's above ground trains that go to the suburbs, then the below ground trains at the subways, and then you have a bus system. So there's ample public transportation. So we're just about ready to exit the park. We're back on Central Park. We're just about, this is all Central Park West. I live on Central Park West. You figured as much. We love the 5-tiered parking lots when you were there. There you go. So we are now, when I take a right-hand turn to head back to the street, you will see Central Park West. I live on Central Park West, just a little bit further south of where we are right this moment. And there's a building on Central Park West right there. This is 85th Street and Central Park West, where we're about to exit. And this is the same way we entered the park. There are multiple entrances and exits throughout Central Park. We just happen to be at the Central Park West and 85th Street entrance and exit. You thought it would be fun to live in New York City, but you also like this quiet. Nancy, I completely understand. New York City is not for everyone. Big cities anywhere are not for everyone. I'm the opposite. I can't live in a small rural area. I would go crazy. I just can't. It's not me. I'm a city person. But there's nothing wrong with that, and there's nothing wrong with your way either. It's just how we grew up and what we're used to. So this is Central Park West. Traffic on Central Park West is a two-way direction. It heads both north and south. I am walking in a southern direction. The traffic that you're seeing here is going north, and on the other side of the street, the traffic heads south. And these are all residential buildings on Central Park West. I'm just a few more doors down. We loved our visit though. I'm glad to hear it. Come on back. So this is all Central Park West. To my left, I'm walking in a southern direction. To my left is the park where we just came from. And now we missed the light, so I'm going to go one more block and then cross. We basically missed this light. For those who were wondering, it's very, very hot today, 90 Fahrenheit, 32.2 Celsius. Drink lots of water if you're in the Northeast today. Very hot and humid, although I'm under the trees, so I'm getting a good breeze right now. Can't complain. You see this building right here? Keanu Reeves. I'm only saying it because it's public. If it were not public, I would not say it. Keanu Reeves has an apartment in this building right here. I've never seen him, but my doorman sees him a lot. Keanu Reeves lives in Los Angeles, but when he's in New York, he has an apartment right here in this building. So that's your celebrity gossip for the day. All right, I have the light. I'm crossing. I'm going to face the camera south so you can see some of the buildings off in the distance that we actually talked about when we were walking around the reservoir. I'll show them. They're coming into view. I'll show them to you from this vantage point in a moment. You walked from the Guggenheim to the Museum of Modern Art and almost passed out. It is hot. Do you see that tall building off in the distance? That's the Extel Tower that we spoke about earlier. We spoke about that building earlier in the broadcast when we were at the reservoir. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so I'm going to stop it here. I really want to thank you all so much. It's great seeing you. It's great broadcasting live. It's been a while. And it's blessed by His presence. Kaylee, you're too funny. And the city is doing well. As you can see, much more busy, a lot of foot traffic. The city is definitely coming back, and I hope all of you eventually come back and give us a visit here in New York. So I'm going to wrap it up now. I want to thank you all so much for joining. I really appreciate all of you. Hopefully I'll be back again sooner rather than later. And until next time, take care. Bye for now.